Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Firefighters Podcast. Today on the podcast, we are heading over to Austin, Texas, USA to welcome Jared Johnson to the show, one of the fittest firefighters on the planet. Jared is going to share with us how he has accomplished the feat of becoming a world champion at the Firefighters Combat Challenge 2020. From 3 generations in his family, he has fell head over heels in love with the fire service and used his ambition, belief to gain clarity on the disciplines he wants to embrace every single day, giving him the commitment and confidence to push himself to his absolute best. From all of these lessons learned, Jared now helps people within the emergency services and the general public to really find their best selves, become fitter physically and mentally every day. And he's going to share it all with us. There's some serious knowledge bombs here, guys. If you want to get fitter, healthier, happier, stronger, then listen in to this episode. Once again, we are sponsored by the wonderful William Wood Watches. Have you ever wanted to support the fire service and get a really beautiful timepiece on your wrist? Head over to WilliamWoodWatches.com and use code FFP5 to get yourself a discount on a beautiful piece of fire service equipment, recycled 100% on your wrist. These are beautiful watches. You can carry the spirit of the fire service with you every single day right there on your wrist. A percentage of every purchase goes to the Firefighters charity, supporting their families all over the world. Are you ready to hear how a champion's mindset operates every day? Holding yourself to a higher standard than anybody else can realistically expect. Let's welcome Jared to the show, guys. Really listen in, okay? Some big lessons to be learned from this one. If you want that personal improvement, if you want to be fitter, healthier, then listen in. Here's Jared.
What's up, brother?
Yes, brother. How you doing, my man?
Doing great. How's your day going?
My day's going awesome, man. Kicking ass and taking names. How's everything your side of the world?
Dude, it's great. Being productive, getting a lot of things done, just tackling the day, my man.
Love it.
And I took some notes down with some of the questions that you were hoping to discuss and talk about. And one of the things that got my attention is like, why did I become a firefighter? So it made me just stop and think back to where I was when I was first trying out and trying to figure my direction, my path in life. And I mean, I can say like, hey, who doesn't want to ride on a $1 million fire truck every third day, right?
that was definitely a reason, isn't it? That's got to be part of it.
But I mean, yeah, you're running into burning buildings when everyone's running out to fight fire. That's pretty cool. We get to play with the high-powered tools and cut up cars when you have a patient trapped inside a motor vehicle.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you're the person that shows up and performs life-saving measures on all the emergency medical calls, and you get the occasional cat save out of the tree, right?
Yeah, there's always that one. There's got to be in there somewhere.
But honestly, man, it's a very rewarding feeling being the person who shows up when all is lost for a particular individual, and
that's
you get
exactly
to
how I feel about it. Yeah, it's like when someone's having the worst day of their life, Jared is going to be the guy, or or Susie, or whoever, or John is going to be the person to show up and be the difference in their life. And there's so few things left that you can really do that now.
Yeah, and you're the problem solver. You're the rescuer for that person on their worst day.
Yeah,
and as a team, you just do your best and you try to give them that instance of hope that everything's going to be okay. So I think that's why, looking back, why I'm a firefighter and why I love my career and my position and what I do, man.
So how long have you been in the fire service now?
I went through the Fire Academy back in 2010. So I've been pursuing this for quite some time. Yeah, I'm actually a third generation firefighter. My great uncle, my father, and even both of my brothers are firefighters. So I remember growing up being brought to the fire station, man, and it's just been a part of my life for so long. And I'm just grateful that I had the opportunity to pursue it as my career.
I mean, some people would hear that. I mean, it's incredibly inspiring to hear the whole family's involved, but how did you balance the expectation of your family and your father and your generations versus, Jared doing his thing? How did you find that balance?
Well, dude, I had to do some soul searching. I kind of went the personal trainer route right out of high school, and that was kind of the direction that I was going. So I had a lot of focus in like, hey, I want to help people on some level. After doing that for a good 5 years, man, I was like, you know what? I think there's a higher calling for me personally, and what better career path to take than being a firefighter. And I have experience by seeing my loved ones go through it, live it. So I took the leap, man. I went through a fire academy, and I was working full time, and I would go at nights, man. So it was a lot of hard work. And what I did was like, it was never given, man. Everything I did was earned, and I put all my focus and attention, and I got the skills, the knowledge, the education that I needed to potentially have an opportunity to test for local area departments. And I'll tell you what, man, it's a pretty difficult thing in the United States. There's just so many applicants for very few jobs.
Thousands, yeah.
Yeah. But dude, man, I literally tested 21 times before I got my first job.
I love hearing that, because some people think that, they'll see Jared and they'll be like, well, yeah, the dude, I mean, look at him. He was born to be a firefighter. It's easy for you, right? And people forget, 21 times. I mean, was there ever a moment where you were like, you know what, this just ain't meant to be. Maybe I'm just not, I don't know, I'm not good enough, or, maybe it's just not for me. Was there ever that moment, or was it always like, you know what, I don't care if it's 1,000 times? Yeah, man. I mean, obviously we're human, right? And exactly. You'll let self-doubt creep in, but iron sharpens iron, man. I revolved myself around people who were motivated, who had strong character and a no-quit attitude. And it kind of transpired into my life and how I thought. And I thought of every test was an opportunity for me to learn and grow. And when that ultimate job posted, and it was the ideal city and department I wanted to work for, I was going to put 100% in it. And from all the failures leading up to that point, man, it just allowed me to be extremely prepared. And I think it's just a part of life, man. You try, you fail, you learn, you grow. That's and a lot of people will feel like giving up by their failures. But I think that's truly what sharpens and strengthens our character. Because if everything was perfect, man, like, it would be easy. That's it, man. There's no lessons learned without a few stumbles, And I love what you say there about sort of the value of association, putting yourself around people who are pushing themselves. And people think that Absolutely. When someone's looking from the outside, they only see the successes. Do you know what I mean? I've got a list now in front of me of all of your achievements, only in the fitness aspect of the Firefighters challenges and stuff like that. But behind every single one of these will be, challenges you didn't overcome, races you didn't win, and, things that were, sharpening your mental fortitude, that were strengthening that resolve to keep pushing yourself. I mean, these things, they're not given. Like you say, these things you've got to work for time and time again. So when you say putting yourself around other people, was that other people applying for the jobs, or was it like your brothers, or how did you surround yourself with people that pushed you?
Yeah, great question, man. So obviously I always leaned on my father. He really molded me, and he took a lot of time and attention to help groom me. So what I started to learn, man, is like, I couldn't just show up unprepared. No. And that's kind of what happened at the beginning is, hey, I've been successful in a lot of things in my life. I can just show up and I can get this done. But I learned real quick that was not true. You actually had to make it a full-time job to prepare yourself for the type of tests that you were going through, not just the written, but the physical, the interview process. These are all skills that you have to learn, and you have to develop them so you can be the top candidate in these processes. Mm-hmm. And once I really learned that, and I created a plan and a system and just an action step to take, and I dived in, dude, and I actually paid for a coach. I had an interview coach, and that was like the separation, man. When I actually started making investments, not with only my time, but my money,
yeah,
I really paid attention.
You've got to put skin in the game, haven't you? You've got to put skin in 100%. The game. So many people think that they can just part-time effort, is going to create that part-time result. You've got to put skin in the game. And they're like, what if I lose it? What if I put in all this time and it doesn't come to anything? Yeah, but if you don't, it's never going to. It's never going to. You're going to have to risk something.
Right. Yeah, it's funny, dude. You can spend $8,000 on a Rolex watch, and it gives you zero investment in the future as far as gaining knowledge, gaining skills, getting resources. Or you can spend that same $8,000 in an area, in a skill, hire a coach if you want to get better in fitness or nutrition, or maybe you're learning a program and that you want to get better at whatever that might be. Yeah. Now that investment will serve you a lifetime.
Absolutely.
No one can ever the education and your knowledge and your skills that you develop over time.
But people think that you've made it at some point as well. Like I have coaches now, both in my fitness and in my business life, and I coach people as well. I always say to people, look, you never make it. As soon as you think you've made it, you're on the way down. Even if we talk about athletes, because I know you coach a lot of people in your private time.
You hit it on the head there. Is like when you think you are riding that wave and you're at the top and everything is going perfect. I actually almost fear that feeling because I know how the bottom feels. And I know at some point something is going to go wrong. And I think that's why having a routine and building habits in place, that way you always do the basics. You do the things that allowed you to be successful in the first place, and you never stray away from them.
Never forget those fundamentals. And people forget that even professionals have coaches. World-class athletes, Olympians, they have a coach. Do you know what I mean? You never get past that. You have to keep that desire to learn and adapt and grow and keep challenging yourself. And that means keep raising your game.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you.
So when you joined, when you said about the entry requirements, because you joined the Texas Fire Department, is that right?
That is correct, man. So kind of how it works in the United States, man. There's very low total job openings. And when you go to test, man, you're up against thousands of other applicants trying to get the same job as you. But you start with basically a written general aptitude test. And this test focuses on just, certain areas like mathematical reasoning, mechanical aptitude, reading comprehension, situational judgment, those type of things. And they take the top 10% from that written exam and they move them forward into a physical ability test. I'm not sure how that correlates with how you operate where you're at.
You know what? I wish we did that because we used to do that. So we used to take a percentage. We used to take top 10%. Now, and I can't speak for every service in the UK, but we have a pass mark. And then everybody above the pass mark moves forward. But I always say to people, look, you don't want the base minimum. You want the best.
Right.
You want the best from the group. So take that. If the pass mark is 60, but people are getting 90s and 95s, right? Then you want the top 10%. Don't take everybody that just got 61 and 62. Because if you say to a member of the public, who do you want climbing up the ladder to save you? And they're like, I don't care. I want the best person. I don't care if they're black, blue. I don't care if it's a guy, a boy, a girl. It doesn't matter. They want the best of the best. And that's what we should strive for.
Heck yeah, man. And I 100% agree with that. So the top 10% moves on and they go through a physical agility test. This is a standardized test and basically just simulates firefighter job tasks. And it's timed. You have approximately 10 minutes, 20 seconds. And there's a stair climb portion. There's hose drag, equipment carry, ladder raise, forcible entry, search, rescue drag, and basically a ceiling breach and pull. And you're wearing about 50 pounds weighted vest. You got helmet and gloves on, and it's solely pass-fail. So you don't get any bonus points for being that, beast that shows up and has the best time.
Yeah.
And within our profession, the physical requirements are how people kind of give you success in a sense, right? But you need to have type of members on your team. You just can't have like 4 brute strength people no one can so that's kind of why they have that just as a pass fail. So once you complete the CPAT, you move on into like a background check, medical, physical, and a psych evaluation. And believe it or not, man, the psych eval is where most people fail. It's pretty intense.
Really?
There's a psychologist. Yeah, they just drill you, man. And you go through like a 500 to 600 questionnaire based off your personality, your behaviors, and they will bring up anything documented on your record. They will start discussing certain red flags on how you answered these questions, and it's pretty intense. It's almost like you're just you feel like you're guilty about something, even if you have a clean record, right?
Yeah, they're finding those small things.
Every aspect of getting to where I was, man, has come with a lot of hard work, consistency, a lot of sacrifice over the time. And why I like this process, man, it's just like they truly get the best of the best, and very assuring to the community that we serve. And like they know when they dial 911 and it's the worst possible scenario that's going on in that person's life, they know that the top showing up to take care of business and to help. So it's really cool because you're surrounded by the best, man. And I really think that helps mold you as an individual. Is now you have other high level people that you surround yourself with, and you are starting to get their characteristics and their traits, and they build you up, and everyone keeps each other accountable, man. So you can always learn from somebody. And that's what I really enjoy about the career. It's like you meet so many new people and they can bring something to the table, and you can always have that in the toolbox for later, right?
And every time it's like adding another layer as well. You know, it's like the compound effect of it distills it purifies even more and more and more the depth of knowledge and experience that you as an individual have, because it keeps getting layered over and over, like you said, with these great individuals that you're working with, sharing their experiences, sharing their passions, sharing the different skill set that they've acquired over the same level of intensity that you've had to apply yourself to.
Yeah, 100%, dude.
So what's a typical day on station now? Because obviously in the UK we have a slightly different setup, but you do 12-hour days still, 12-hour night shifts, or? So
we're 24 hours on, 48 hours off, and we have a pretty sweet schedule here in Austin, Texas. So our shift changes at noon. The reason is that we have pretty heavy traffic at peak time, so they kind of push it back a bit. That way no one's stuck in traffic. They don't show up late. There's an A, B, C shift. When we arrive, basically we check out the daily orders. And what basically this shows us is who's scheduled to work, who's off on vacation, who's sick, any pertinent notes for the shift. Once we kind of get the daily orders and our assignments, we start checking out the rigs, man. And we do a complete rundown of all of our equipment. We're checking the air packs, the radios. We're just ensuring all life-saving equipment is stocked. It's ready to go. We run all the small motors. We ensure like the fire truck is operational and the pump is ready to go. So this detailed check, it takes us probably about an hour. Once that's complete, man, we go into the kitchen and we eat lunch as a family.
I love that. I wanted to ask you if you guys still do that, because some watchers in the UK still do it, and I think it's so important to have those moments of teamwork and camaraderie where you really build a team around the table, cooking together, living together. It's a shame when some watches, some stations don't do it anymore.
Yeah, I hate to hear that, man. We rotate cooks every shift, and so one person they're responsible for bringing all the groceries and preparing the meals throughout the shift. And these are some stressful times, brother.
Yeah. Seriously,
it's crazy because you wouldn't believe how many firefighters think they're world-class chefs, and they will nitpick any and everything you cook. So no one's safe when it's your up to cook.
Yeah. What's your go-to meal? What's your specialty?
You know what, man? I like the grill, so I'll throw some protein on the grill. It could be it could be steaks, it could be barbecue chicken. I'll always have some type of rice or potato. We'll have a salad bar and a veggie on the side. I try to keep it pretty clean. That way it fits my dietary needs. And, ultimately, it's rubbing it off on the guys too, to ensure that they're keeping their nutrition in check.
Plus it's pretty safe as well. You can't go too far wrong with a good bit of steak, good bit of protein on there. If you try and go too complex and you get it wrong, the guys will never let you forget it.
No kidding, dude. You'll be hearing about it all day.
That's it. You can't be having that, my man. So we've got all the checks done. You eat together. Then what's happening? When's gym time on station?
Yeah, great question. So once we finish lunch, man, we basically we're responsible for any type of continuing education training. We're responsible for testing the hydrants in our territory. We do building inspections. We do general upkeep at the firehouse, and all while running calls when they pop, right? So we're at one of the busiest stations in the city, and we take a lot of pride in the number house that we're at. We average approximately 15 runs a shift, and we just have a mix of just low income, commercial and residential areas with mid and high rises. We have a huge highway system that goes through our immediate area, so we can just get on and off and beat a lot of other crews to a fire. So we take a lot of pride in that.
Yeah, man, you've got to get there first. Got to be first on scene.
Absolutely. And it's just one of those stations that is highly sought out by motivated firefighters.
Yeah. 15 calls a day, did you say? 15 calls a shift?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I love that. That was like when I first joined, we were at those kind of numbers. Now, oh, man, we're lucky if we get 2. Honestly, it's terrible. And I mean, that's good because it means people are safer and people are driving more carefully. But you're also you're hungry for them calls, brother.
100%. So we get a mix of it all, man. And we love running the calls. We actually we're a multi-company. So we have an engine and then we have a ladder truck. And you generally are trying to show up early enough to hop on that engine because that's where all the calls are being made. So it's cool, man. We have firefighters like senior tailboards that have 15, 20 plus years, and they're still trying to beat the low man on the engine. So that's just the type of people I'm around. They're all hungry. And yeah, man, it's pretty cool. It's inspiring and it motivates you to be your best. That's what I love about where I'm at. But about 3 p.m. every shift, man, is our daily workout time. And we generally plan our entire day around our workout time. So that's kind of,
so do we.
Yeah. And all the guys, man, they take their physical fitness pretty serious. And it's amazing to see the entire crew training together. Yeah. Like our officers and even our battalion chief is out there putting in the work. And they're freaking clanging the weights, man. They're doing sled drags. They're using a sledge on a tire. There's high intensity training. We do it all, man. And we just, we have a lot of fun. Yeah. And we'll throw in the stretch and the recovery, pick up basketball games, so we just have a lot of fun. And then 6 p.m. hits, dude, that's normally our dinner time. And if it's not ready by then, you're being yelled at by all the senior guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on, you're not messing about, especially post-workout. Yeah. We've got to get the food in.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we eat dinner as a family. We probably sit at the dinner table, chat for about another hour after we're done, just tell old stories and talk about what's going on in the news and in people's lives. And as soon as you see the officer basically stand up, that's when everybody rushes to the dishwasher in the sink. And it's funny, man, everyone's trying to be the person to do the work and the dishes. That's the type of people I'm around. So it's pretty cool, dude. But yeah, dude, after dinner, we generally will play some pickleball. Are you familiar with it?
Pickleball? No, hit me with it.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a hybrid of, tennis and ping pong.
Okay.
And we clear out the bays. We set up a net across the bay where the fire trucks are. And dude, we have been known to play pickleball till midnight.
Jeez.
Yeah. It's just, it's something that we do on our downtime, man. So instead of going in the recliners and maybe throwing on a movie, we like to get a little bit more activity in.
Get a bit more PT, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, once we kind of chill out from that, The evening and the night, man, is when our district starts to pick up. So it can be tough at times to have like little to no rest because you're just on calls all night. But we count it a blessing when we only have to get up twice in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it's nice to get the calls in early. Nobody wants to be out all night. I mean, every now and again, that's what builds the character, and there's always going to be the tough jobs, but you don't want it every night.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know how important rest and recovery is.
Absolutely.
But about 7 a.m., man, that's when we have the coffee brewing, and most people are starting to wake up. We'll throw on the news in the day room, and we'll enjoy our coffee and have discussion. 8 a.m., breakfast is being called hot on the intercom, and then mornings are just to ensure the station's picked up and cleaned. All the equipment is ordered, restocked. Everything's ready for the next crew. And most of us just get back out in the gym and get another workout before we leave.
That's pretty awesome, brother. It's got to be good. How do people feel sort of competing around you? Because, you know, we'll sort of go into now how your competitive side of your firefighter fitness brings it into the game. But I'm sure people on your station, people on your watches are aware that you sort of started taking it to another level. When did you first discover the fitness side of firefighter fitness in the games and realizing you could take it to another level?
Yeah, man, great question. So I did my first Firefighter Combat Challenge back in 2011. This is when I was going through the Fire Academy. I had a really pretty cool mentor that was big in the Firefighter Combat Challenge. His name was Jim Key. He was a captain of over 30 years in Austin Fire. And when he was done, he still wanted to be involved, and he was our PT instructor during the Fire Academy. And he always motivated us to ensure that we were at peak performance and the importance of showing up every day and making sure that you're prepared and ready for any call, right? And that starts with your physical fitness. Not only does it help you, you know, physically and to be strong, but the mental 100%, because when you're put in that situation where something gets pretty difficult, you've been there 1,000 times because of your training, right?
Yeah.
So I learned that early on, man. So we entered in it's called Firefest here at local event, and we entered as an academy, and we ended up winning the event. And I think ever since then, man, that's kind of like what hooked me in.
Yeah.
And I remember the old captain, he gave me his old race boots. And I thought this was the coolest thing, man, because ultimately he was one of the tops at his time. And then him passing those boots, man, I was like, man, these are going to be really hard to fill, you know?
Yeah.
But that kind of inspired me, and like, you know what, I'm going to be something in the Firefighter Combat Challenge. And it definitely took some time. I didn't have success overnight, but I kept at it, man.
So that was your the first one was your first team event, was it? Was you compete by yourself first, or was it straight in with the team?
It was a combination. You do both. So you compete individually, and then those times are averaged based off your team. So that's why I like it, man. It's not only just a team sport, but you are competing individually for the best time, and that also ends up helping your team score. So it's pretty rewarding in that aspect.
So this guy was like a local legend, and he sort of handed the baton onto you, and he's like, "Look, Jared, this is the bar. This is where we've set the bar, and you got to reach it, brother. You know, you got to reach it and raise it." Yeah,
man, and it's pretty neat. He's about 70 years old now, man. And after every competition that I've competed in, he always shoots me over a message, and it's just the coolest thing that
no way. That's awesome.
Yeah, and he's still following us, man, and he's rooting us on. So when I look back to like who instilled that competition of me wanting to be one of the top Firefighter Combat Challenge competitors, and I give it to Captain Jim Key, man. He really helped me and kind of molded that mentality for me.
Shout out Captain Jim, brother. So this year, you've or this year and last year, really, you've really started to get into your your groove of some pretty high level stuff. You're not just focusing in on one or two challenges now. I mean, I'm just looking down the list. We've got the Tandem World Championships, the Hybrid Relay World Championships, the Open World Championships, and you're the King of the Jungle. I mean, talk us through some of the different challenges that you've competed in and been successful in sort of the past 18 months now, because this is getting serious.
Yeah, man. So when I think back, I would say my peak started 2 to 3 years ago, where I started to see I had potential, and I was truly going to the drawing board year after year, trying to figure out, man, what's the best way to train? How can I align my workouts, the conditioning into modeling, and building the best training system to be number one. And I fell short last year. I finished 4th overall in the world, and it was one of the hardest.
Pretty amazing. That is still pretty amazing.
Yeah,
I love that that's not enough, but for most people, that's incredible.
Yeah, but the goal was to be on the podium, and when you miss being on the podium by, 2 milliseconds from the number 3 guy, just like, it gives you a lot to be hungry for. And that's when I flipped the switch, man. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do everything possible to focus my training solely on combat challenge. I'm going to outwork all the competitors. I'm going to ensure my nutrition is on point. I'm going to develop the habits, the routine that it's going to take to be the best in the world. And I always say, how you do anything is how you do everything. I
love that.
When you have the discipline, the routine, the habits in place, you approach everything with the greatest preparation and desire to perform at the highest level. And that's what the champions and the greats do.
Yeah.
So like when you're at the top level, you have to step into this new identity. And that new identity is what forges through hard work, the consistency, the sacrifice, and that pure determination to be the best. And it starts to manifest in everything that you do. And you can't just show up and be the fittest firefighter in the nation and, be a piss poor firefighter on the job, right? So there's a lot that you're required to accomplish. And, what I did, man, is I just dug deep. Back in May, though, man, I got COVID, and that was kind of the turning point for me. And luckily, it didn't sideline me like some people that we have seen in the world, right? But it gave me that inner drive of like, look, I can let 2020 take the best of me, and we can hang it up, we can call it quits, and everyone would accept that, right? Like no one would be upset. You went through a lot, but you know what? I decided, I was like, man, I'm going to dig in even deeper, and I'm going to go for it all. And what's really cool, dude, is, man, I started just creating a morning routine, and I call it a growth block. And these are things that when I look at what does Jared need to do on a daily basis to be the best, I made a list, and I made sure before my head laid down on the pillow, all those habits were complete. And that started with like your workouts, tracking your hydration. And I measured and weighed every gram of food that went in my mouth, Pete. And I was just extremely precise in what I did. And I just told myself every day, I'm going to be a world champion. I used affirmations. I created the characteristics of what that new identity was going to look like. And I started saying it out loud every day, because what we tell ourselves, we start to believe it.
You do, mate, because you're around yourself all the time, and your mind hears everything you think and everything you say. And for some people, they think like affirmations and stuff, they think it's BS, they think it's rubbish. And I'm like, it's a marginal gain. Is it everything? Right. No, it's not everything. But you know what? It might be 1 or 2%. that self-belief might be 1 or 2%, but that's the marginal gain that's going to take you to that next level. And like you said, when you got that setback, when you got COVID or any other setback, everyone else they're going to let you off. They're going to let you off. They're going to go, you know what, Jared? Yeah, I get it. But no, man, seriously, no. I know you've hurt your back, or I know you've had this, or I know your mum passed away, or something like that. But only you can hold yourself accountable. Everybody else can let you off. They will do. But you need to hold yourself. You need to have an expectation that to most people will seem unrealistic. It needs to be that all-consuming discipline, because it's you versus you. Only you. You can lie to everybody else, can't you? But when you get in bed at night, only you're going to know if you've ticked everything off on that growth block. No one else is going to know, but you're going to know.
100%, dude. Love it.
That's what it all comes down to. So when people look at the things you've achieved, it's not been, people can't always rely on somebody else to show up and push them, push and push and push them, because they're not always going to be around. You've got to have that. You've got to have that coming from within. So when you look back now, what's the proudest moment? Because I'll bet it's not been necessarily the biggest competition. What's the one where you had to really, really dig deep, and perhaps you weren't as good as you thought you were, or you had to have that moment of self-reflection and think, this is when it's got to change?
Yeah, man. So last year, we were going into one of the final races. It was one of the last regional events, and this was going to determine the Grand National Champion of the 2019 season. And there was another competitor. His name is Brian Reeby from St. Lucie County, Florida.
I think I've seen him. Dude's a beast.
Yeah, he's in the top 10 in the world. So we were back and forth all year. He was winning events. I was winning events. We were back and forth. Boom, boom. He would beat me. I would beat him. And it came down to the last regional event. And basically who won this event was going to be the Grand National Champion of the nation. And I was extremely determined in my mind. I was like, I'm a seasoned competitor. I've been in these high stress.
How do you handle your nerves, though? That's what I'm saying. How do you handle the pressure in that moment? Because some people, that pressure controls them, overtakes their ability to focus and do their best.
Yeah. And I was thinking all about the outcome and not the present moment. I was thinking about what Brian Reeby was doing and not what Jared Johnson is capable of doing. So I truly lost focus in a sense where I was seeking the reward and I hadn't earned it yet.
Yeah.
And he ended up edging me out on the dummy drag, and he beat me by less than a second. And that really got my mind to switch gears. I was like, you know what? I'm in a race against myself. It doesn't matter who is next to me, what the competitor's name is, how good or not they are. I have to run my race. And once I started doing that, man, it was a race against myself. And I was basically seeing how much I could beat my best time every competition. And I think that truly is what helped me advance that next season, is because now it didn't matter who was next to me. I had put in the work. I did all the preparation needed, and I welcomed the best against me because I knew I was going to run my race and no one would be able to touch me.
That's incredible, because that's so much of controlling the controllables. Do you know what I mean? Because especially it's not like a fight, or it's not like some of the other sports where, if the other team does something different, you've got to adapt for it or something like that. In a sport like what you compete in, it is all about controlling the controllables. You can't control how they're going to show up. You can't control what the weather's going to be like. You can't control if they're stronger or weaker than you. You can only control the way you show up every single day.
Absolutely, man.
So, when you said about changing some of your training, now, how did this work in terms of some of your weight training? Because I used to be a lot bigger. I used to be a lot more muscle bound than I am now. And I found it really slowed me down. Do you know what I mean? But I'd spent so many years, building a big, strong body that aesthetically looked a certain way. How did you have to change your training? And was there anything you had to sort of give up, like any big lifting that you really enjoyed that actually wasn't going to help you get the goal?
Yeah. 100%, man. So in the off season is where I really hit the power, the strength, the explosive movements. And this is where I'm doing heavy loads with the barbell, you know, a lot of squats, a lot of deadlifts, a lot of power cleans.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun, man. And I'm really trying to max those loads. I'm trying to develop the strength. I'm trying to get more powerful, right? Stronger.
Yeah.
And in season, dude, I don't touch a barbell. And
God, I hate that. I would hate that. That's the bit I struggle with.
Yeah, man. But I knew it was like, hey, I'm not going to be able to do the volume and the type of work that I do in off season when I am trying to get prepped and ready for a competition. So I transition into all course specific work, and I'm just trying to build my skills in all areas. And what that looks like, man, it's still, it's not a rest. It's not any easier, but your focus has to change because, like you said, once you start, you know, doing these stronger lifts, you're potentially building more muscle. You're a little bit heavier. You're not moving your body as fast. So I had to
you're
start
not as
training.
quick. You're not as quick and explosive. You've lost that edge a little bit.
So I add in, man, a lot of speed and agility type work. I am mimicking the skills that are performed in the Firefighter Combat Challenge, and I'm just repeating that over and over. That way, when I touch this stuff, I have done it 1,000 times, and my body is used to it, and I can put through it. And what I always attempt to do in my training is I make it harder than it truly is when I'm competing on the course. And if you've never done the Firefighter Combat Challenge, they call it the toughest 2 minutes in sport for a reason, man.
Yeah.
And it absolutely demolishes people. It's a complete, you know, mindset. Just it crushes human beings.
Because you've got to get comfortable with the discomfort. I mean, I remember one of our competitions a few years ago, and everybody had been training really hard, but they'd all been training in like shorts and t-shirt, and you know, and they were fast. They were real fast. Do you know what I mean? But I'd been in like 2 hoodies and a jacket, and then wearing thermal leggings underneath my stuff. And the day itself, it was in our summer, and it must have been high 30s. We are Celsius, obviously, in the UK, and it was high 30s, 40s, something like that. And people were just dropping. People just couldn't take the heat. They were faster, absolutely, but they just couldn't take the discomfort, that amount of heat and pressure. Because, like, you know, when you're in fire kit and you've got 50 pounds on your back and you're trying to sprint upstairs, it's not the same. There's nothing else quite like it.
Absolutely, man. That's what I love about it. It's such a challenge. And when you look at some of the best that do it, it looks effortless, right? But that just shows all their preparation and the hard work that they put into it. And that's what's motivating to see, is like when you can watch somebody on the course and they're just going through the movements as fast as possible with no mess ups, and they're just flawless, and they make it look easy, and it instills confidence in other people, right? Like, hey, that guy's human. He's just like me.
Yeah.
I just have to do a little bit more every day, get 1% better every day. And that's what I love about the sport, man, is like, I use it as a, you know, an opportunity to spread my message and to help other firefighters across the nation get better. And it's pretty cool as, you know, you get some of these successes in the combat challenge. A lot of people start looking up to you, and they start asking you questions. And, you know, I'm all about giving back, and I want to see everyone perform at the highest level possible. And, you know, I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be, you know, that person that people can come up to and approach and ask questions, and I can provide them, you know, assistance to the best of my ability.
And it's so great to hear from where you've come as well. And it's probably, people will probably hear with a sort of sigh of relief that it's not always been win, 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 win. It's not always been easy. You have had your setbacks. You've had your losses. So whilst they're there now experiencing their own losses, or they might feel a bit out of shape, or they might feel overweight, that Jared wasn't born this way. You know, this was built, this was forged, this was made over time and patience and persistence. So let's talk about some of those questions. Let's go with let's go with the everyday, because I know you obviously support a lot of emergency services personnel, but you also still coach people outside of the service. You still help people with their general day-to-day fitness. So give me the top fundamentals. What's the first few things you think people need to focus in on if they're not doing anything at all right now? They're sat on the couch listening to the podcast and they're like, all right, you know what? I'm pretty convinced Jared sounds like he knows what he's on about. What are the sort of things they need to focus on to start changing their life?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you first need to start with knowing your why, and you have to have a purpose, and that why must be so valuable to you, meaning you are willing to make any sacrifice to ensure you accomplish your purpose. And it can't just be weight loss, or I want to look better or have better body composition. I want 6-pack abs, right? No, you have to dig deeper than that, man. And it might look like you never want to have the identity of the fat guy or the person who hides behind their clothes and they have no confidence. They're insecure. They hate who they see in the mirror. Now, that is powerful. And that is a reason why you will make all these sacrifices to ensure you accomplish.
And you need
purpose.
to do it for you as well. You know, I hear sometimes my clients, they're like, oh, I want to lose weight because my partner thinks I'm overweight, or I want to impress somebody. I'm like, you can't do it for somebody else. You can't do it for somebody else, because that person might not always be there. You've got to be for you. And the second that person changes, or their definition of perfection changes, then you're just going to keep trying to change all your life. You know, you've got to find that. I just agree with you so much, man. You've got to find that why. And it's got to be important to you, not to anybody else, to you.
Absolutely. And that why, it's basically going to give you the fuel to push yourself every single day. And then once you kind of have that figured out, you just have to keep it simple, man. It's like you stick to the basics. You create realistic expectations, and whatever you do, make it sustainable and something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have to track and record all the data. If we're going in blind and we don't know what your previous week looked like, how can we expect to make accurate adjustments moving forward? So
also, how can we celebrate you? How can we celebrate success if we don't know what success is?
Yeah. So what can be tracked can be managed. So without data, you're just going to be spinning in circles. You're going to be trying, you're going to be failing, you're going to be quitting. It's a vicious cycle. And you need to find a coach that you can connect with, one who's educated and has a proven system of success, because this will allow you to enter that fast lane to where you want to be. And I'll be real, man. I've invested in so many coaches because I did not want to waste any time trying to figure it out on my own. And the investment was worth the time I saved to get the skills and the tools I needed to be successful.
Yeah. That's the way I look at a coach as well. It's a performance enhancer. I tell people, look, you don't need a coach. I say, you don't need me, but it's a performance enhancer. You go into somebody that's been there, they've done it, they're cutting out all the BS, they've got a system that works, and you can plug straight into that. You're not going to wander around in the dark trying to find something. Here it is. This is what you do. This is step 1, step 2, step 3.
100%. And I always tell people, like, we have to step into the new identity of the person we want to become. And that includes breaking all the limiting beliefs. So instead of thinking about all the reasons you can't do something, list out all the reasons you can, you should, and how you're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Because a healthy lifestyle, it's not a sprint, man. And we can't just go hard for a short period of time and then think we can stop. Right. So it's a never ending road. And the longer you stay on the right path, the easier it gets and the better you feel. And the identity that you have created starts to become you. So always tell yourself who you want to become, why it's important to you, have that purpose, stick to the basics, find a coach to hold you accountable, to track your data so you can have the systems in place to make educated decisions, break all those limiting beliefs, and always tell yourself why you can do something.
Because it's going to be a journey as well. People need, like you just said there, you're not doing something for 2 weeks, for 10 weeks. You're not doing it until you've lost whatever, a stone, or until you've lifted this certain weight. It's a journey. You're never going to make it You know, even Jared, you've not made it. You've not reached the end and now you can hang up your hat. It's a lifestyle. This is going to be your new life. We're not doing it for 6 months. We're not doing it for a year. This is the new normal. This is the standard. We've raised the level to this point.
Yeah, I always tell people there's no ceiling. You can continue to climb higher and higher. And if you don't believe it, you got to squash the limiting beliefs because they're not serving you. If you can envision something or you can dream about something, I believe you can take action and make it a reality. And that's how I live my life.
100%, brother. So we've got your everyday, your average Joe, your average guy and girl. What about the firefighter who is, you know, they're in the job, they've been in a couple of years, they've seen these crazy firefighter challenge stuff going on, but they're just, at the minute, they're a bit of a gym bro. You know, they're going in, they're hitting chest and triceps once a week. And what's the biggest change if they wanted a little bit of that, you know, firefighter games, toughest firefighter alive, they wanted to go and try that out? What would be the biggest advice to them first and foremost?
Hey, physical fitness for firefighters, it is a must. And you are that person that shows up when someone dials 911. So we don't have a backup for firefighters. There's not a special number of firefighters can call to bring in.
You are the person.
You are it. So you have to train and be prepared for any situation. So if you're showing up and you're comfortable and you're going through the motions, is that realistically the person that is going to perform when all chaos is broke and everything is going crazy around you? It is hot. You are uncomfortable. You are tired. But now your crew member is down. Yeah. And you have to be that person who steps up and handles the situation and potentially save your own, right? So we have to be prepared through fitness. And this makes all actions that we do better, not just physically, but mentally, right? We feel better, we think smarter, we have confidence and assurance that we are prepared for all events. So we have to be strong, man. You have to have stamina. You have to have endurance. You have to be so well-rounded in all aspects of fitness. And I think training with all the variability is going to be crucial. And that means a mixture of, you know, strength movements with barbell work. Maybe that looks like high intensity things with sled drags and tire flips. Maybe that looks like having more of an endurance. So you go for a longer row, maybe a longer run. You just have to be ready. Yeah. And ultimately is you have to push and give effort every opportunity you get. There's no 50% in anything that we do.
No. And only you're going to know if you put it all on the line as well. Because I say some people might see some of your training and go, wow, Jared's really going for it. But at the end of the day, you'll know if you tap the tank out. Only you'll know that. You've got to leave it all out there. You've got to find a way to shock the system and challenge yourself every day.
100%. And dude, anyone that sees my workouts, I'm an ordinary guy just like you. I have just made a decision. And I make that decision every day I wake up to be my absolute best and to shoot for being 1% better. So create what your identity looks like. When you see yourself down the road, who is that person? How are they showing up? What are they doing? How are they looking? How are they feeling? How are they showing up for their family, for their career, for their loved ones? And you need to create an outline of what that person's going to do to be there. And then that's what you stick to every single day.
Jared, geez, man, you've left me so many knowledge bombs there to go away thinking about. Thank you so much for taking time out of, I know what is a busy schedule with training and clients and family and the work that you do with your community. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing your story, brother. It's really inspiring.
Heck yeah, man. I really appreciate you having me. It was a pleasure getting to talk with you, man. And I hope you keep crushing it out there, dude.
You too, brother. Stay safe, and I'll see you out there soon.
Yes, sir.
Well, there we are, folks. I told you that was not going to disappoint. What a fantastic episode with Jared. So many takeaways. Oh my God. You know, his family have come through the fire department over 3 generations. This is instilled upon him, this discipline, this commitment, this passion for making himself better every single day. I mean, you heard it. This guy is a beast. But he all puts it down to personal accountability, challenging himself. No one is ever going to push you as hard as you can push yourself. And it's all about you versus you. I hope you took a lot of value from today's episode. If you want to head over and check out Jared Johnson, the coaching links are right there below. If you want a piece of what it is to be the fittest firefighter on the planet, that's the place to go. Thank you for coming by and checking out another episode of the Firefighters Podcast. I do not take for granted your time and the time that you invest in the Firefighters Podcast. My sincere hope is you take value, knowledge, wisdom, inspiration, and positivity from every single episode. And you know what? Today, Jared gave it in buckets. Thank you for coming by. Look after yourself. Look after each other. We'll see you soon at the Firefighters Podcast.